As we're waiting, I'm completely done now with the initial triage on the SharePoint Hackathon. Brilliant stuff. But seriously, I was watching them in my sleep. So as I was sleeping, I was still watching the videos.
Sleepwatching might be like AI hallucinations. You're like,
that's
wait,
true.
How did that SharePoint site make time travel possible?
Yes,
did I see that, or did I do it? Did I do that? It's literally the
exactly 125 videos watched. So
nice. Binge watched the hackathon.
Exactly.
The whole season in 2 days.
Yes.
Welcome everyone to this week's call. We are on March the 19th, 2026. I am your host, Gary Trinder, and today we have a full community call. We have 3 demos from Darshan, Anoop, and Chris. But as usual, we'll have the updates on SharePoint Framework, all the community projects, and we'll also do some picture time as well. If you are new to the community, we have tons of community contributed samples, videos, areas for discussion, open source projects, samples that people have shared as well. If you want to check everything out, you just need one link. That is aka.ms/community/home, and that will give you all of the links to all these different places and more. So the community calls, there are more than just this one call every week. So we have a weekly community call, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform call. We have this call, we have a Power Platform call, Office add-ins call as well. But again, we have one link for you to get all of these invites to these calls. Go to aka.ms/community/calls, which is really important if you do this, because if you get the invite from this location, your invite will update when the time zones change, like today being an hour earlier for myself. That nearly caught me out, but I have this invite and it adjusted correctly. So if it hasn't adjusted, go to here, get the latest invites. As usual, we will publish all the agendas on social media as well. And to give you an idea of what's coming up in the next week's weekly call, it's all about Copilot agents. So we have Sebastian, we have Giorgio, and Eric and Rabia all talking about agents in Copilot. So if that is interesting to you, definitely check that out. If you would like to come and present, maybe it's the first time you've presented, or maybe you've presented before, we want to hear from you. So we're always interested in new speakers coming on. If you are interested in doing this, go to aka.ms/community/request/demo, fill out the form, and we will get back in touch with you and get you on to present. David, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Gary. So once you start getting involved in the community, such as the recent hackathon, and thank you for everybody that's contributed, you can take advantage of learning how to contribute even more. So if you're a little intimidated by GitHub, like I know I was for those big fancy names like pull request and fork and blame and raw, these sessions are set up to provide hands-on guidance. So they're live, they are safe space, which means we do not record them. So you're free to ask any all questions without the fear of it going on record. I know how that sometimes will, limit our abilities or desires to ask those questions. So we just finished up some of those hackathon guidance sessions. We've got more contribution sessions coming soon. We're also going to be setting up some regular office hours. So if you don't want to dedicate a full hour, hour and a half to the full session, you just got some questions, you can pop in, ask questions, pop out. It's a great way to get more involved and ensure that you're being assisted on contributing. And so keep an eye out at aka.ms/sharing is caring. Now, once you do contribute, that is an actual recognizable contribution. So we have our recognition program in place back for 2026. I think this is like our 6th year, which is amazing. And since it has started, Credly, not us, has recognized it as a best-in-class community program because of all the amazing work that you're doing. So keep it up. We love recognizing you. We've got more fun thematic badges and themes coming out this year. Currently in the Springtime Superstar, so you can earn that for the next couple of months. We got the SharePoint Hackathon. all the favorite badges, and even more campaigns coming soon. It's absolutely free, no cost, aka.ms/community/recognition to opt in, and we'll track the work you're doing and make sure you're recognized. And if you have any problems, you're expecting a badge or aren't getting one, please do let me know. Reach out. Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. We'll ensure that you get taken care of. All right, Gary, back to you.
Thank you very much, David, and over to Vesa.
That's me. So on the SharePoint Hackathon, we've been executing that within the first 2 weeks of the March, and we are just in the middle of judging those hackathon submissions. So thank you everybody for joining on that one. We had 125 submissions, which was awesome. Initial triage is completed, and judges are going to now start judging and making decisions on those things today. And then on next Wednesday, on 25th of March, 9 a.m. Pacific time, we will have a live stream where we will announce actually top 3 per category, and then the actual winner per category. So that's going to be an awesome show, live stream in YouTube and in tech community at least. So hopefully you can join on that. And there's a live commenting and everything else happening. Quickly on SharePoint Framework, quick recap on that one from my side. 123 preview is planned to go out actually today. This is going to contain first version of list view command grouping, an NPM audit addressing, and a few additional things, getting ready for additional capabilities which are planned to come in 123. We're also looking into getting CLI, the new CLI, SPFx CLI out for preview, I think next week. So that is looking really, really good as well. Let's go to the following slide. No real changes in here. I didn't actually even update the chart, but we do have not only tens of millions of monthly active users, we do actually have tens of millions of daily active users on custom SharePoint Framework components in Microsoft 365. So the usage is just off the roof. It's awesome to see. One more slide. No changes really on the roadmap slide. We talked about this one in the past as well. 123 is intended to go out in March. At least we'll get the previews out. It might be that we'll combine 123, 123.1 in early March, so we get everything out at once. But it's a bit of a struggle right now, balancing all of the work and MVP Summit and everything else which is now happening. We'll keep you up to date on that. But that's a quick update in here. We'll get more details on AI features and all of that on SPFx a bit later. So, but all good. Let's move into the open source side of the house.
Great, thanks, Vesa. Yep, let's move into open source projects. But before we do that, if you want to get involved in picture time, then please enable your camera now so we can get it all snapped up and move straight on to the other things for today. Okay, Copilot prompt library. If you're using Copilot, you're using an awesome prompt, you want to share that with everyone, we have a place for you to do that. So we're always looking for contributions. Go to aka.ms/pmp-prompt library, where you can submit your prompt and then get featured on Prompt of the Week, which is exactly what Roger did. So Roger contributed a team retrospective style prompt to generate the minutes of his team's retrospectives, what worked well, what didn't work well, help them progressing. So great example. Thank you very much for that contribution, Roger. Let's move on to PMP.js. I don't think we have anyone here today, so I'm going to take this. So version 4.18 was released on the 23rd of March. So there's an issue that has been resolved with the get folder by server relative path function, fixing graph channels, return type, and updating links in on reference the GitHub repository. Version 5 updates have started, so if you are wanting to get more information on that, just take a look at the project in the repo. And if you want to try out the nightly builds, you can get them from npm. Just use the v4 nightly tag to get those. CLI for Microsoft 365, there's a new beta release. This is 11.6. This version contains new commands for SharePoint Online, adding a SharePoint agent, which is a new one, as well as getting tenant site info and updating site access requests as well. Outlook, so now you can list calendar groups for a user, so the custom groups that you can create. And for Viva Engage, command for managing the roles of members in the communities as well. So if you want to try out this beta release, you can get the the beta from NPM, just use the @next tag. And if you want to use the next tag as well, you want to run it in our Docker container, you can use that as well. Just a reminder, this is version 11. If you're still on version 10, then we encourage you to upgrade. We have the guidance on the website, so please do check that out. And we also have our full release notes of all enhancements and bug fixes in this release. Go to aka.ms/CLI-M365/notes. Dev proxy, so no new release of dev proxy. We still got the last stable release, which was version 2.2. Lots of changes in this release, mainly around automation and making it friendlier for coding agents to use dev proxy as well. So we've made some really big updates. Detach mode is a really good improvement where we had an issue where dev proxy wouldn't get stopped correctly and it would cause some network issues. Now it does because it runs in a background process. So that's much more improved. And alongside the releases in dev proxy, we've updated our dev proxy toolkit, which is the VS Code extension. We have one URL now for finding everything about dev proxy. Go to devproxy.net. You'll find all of samples, our release announcements as well, and easy access to our docs. Reusable controls. Alex.
Yep. Thank you very. Yeah. I'm here. Yep. So we released new versions on March 14 for both React controls and property controls. First of all, SPFx 1.22.2 are now supported, and this is a huge change for our contributors as well, because we switched from Gulp to Heft. So now you will need to use Heft toolchain instead of Gulp if you want to contribute to these repos. In addition to that, there are new controls for React controls, KPI control, and list toolbar. There are some fixes, and very huge thing. Now we don't have a dependency on PNP.js and property controls, which was completely out of date. It was version 1 or 2, I don't remember. Thank you to Bo Cameron for that. And thank you to all our contributors. As usual, you're making these controls valuable for everybody and for all the packages and solutions where they're used. Thank you very much. Back to you, Gary.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. SharePoint Framework Toolkit. Adam.
Yeah, that's me. So this time we had no new minor releases, just regular maintenance work. If you are not aware, SPFx Toolkit is a VS Code extension that will boost your SharePoint Framework development at every stage of your working with SharePoint Framework projects. From the very beginning, it will support you setting up your local environment, global dependencies for any version of SPFx, scaffolding your project from a dedicated UI or kickstarting from one of 600 plus samples. And then it has dedicated actions built in for that cover typical developer use case scenarios. We have built in Heft now, task pane, but also if you are running an older SPFx project, there will be a Gulp task pane available for you. So we cover all of the SPFx versions for most of the for this VS Code extension features. So be sure to give it a try if you're doing any kind of SPFx development. And if you want to help us out, we have currently 5 issues ready to be taken. And happy coding. Back to you, Gary.
Thanks, Adam. PNP Modern Search, Casper.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, we are still on 4.20, and we are not planning any release anytime soon, so not within the next couple of weeks at least. But if you have an issue, I would like to point your attention towards what we call PNP Modern Search office hours. And the dates you can see there are all available, and I have set the time aside for a one-to-one discussion with you. If you have an issue or you have a question related to PNP Modern Search, please sign up, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, however, if you have an issue and you see that the issue has been resolved by us already, that we have a PR for that in the repository, you can build it yourself if you're a little bit technical. You can build it yourself and take it into your current testing environment and make sure that it works for you that way. So there are multiple ways to fix an issue that is urgent for you. So otherwise, please give us a call on the repo. We are monitoring that list on a daily basis. So back to you, Gary.
Great. Thanks, Casper. David.
Yes, so filling in for Hugo today, we only have one new SharePoint framework sample, but it is a good one, React Gantt chart web parts. So Zhao, as always, is creating some amazing stuff for us. So if you haven't gone and checked it out, please do. And it is always welcome for more. And even if you want to help update some of those samples, that is fully welcome as well. So reach out, look to see who the original creator was, not necessarily Hugo, but look to see who the original creator was and say, hey, I'd love to help update this. Do you mind? And that way you kind of start collaborating. So that's it for extensions and web parts. On to Anoop.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. Right, so on the ACES, this week we don't have any new samples. We are looking for new samples. So if you want to contribute, go to that link, aka.ms/spfx-aces. We've got lots of amazing samples there. Take a look at those and feel free to contribute some more. And like David said, if you want to upgrade some of these existing samples as well, feel free to raise some pull requests as well. Thank you. Back to you, Gary.
Great, Anoop. Thank you very much. And let's finish with picture time.
Yes,
David, over to you.
Absolutely. Yep, I got it taken care of here. So let's start sharing the screen and get everybody's fantastic faces out there. Get those cameras turned on if you haven't already. There we go. I see lots of folks. All right, looking good, everybody. We are just about good on time. Let's give it just another second or two for those that are still warming up the bulbs of those cameras. I see Alex is there. Vessa's dancing around, looking good. Tom is smiling right behind me. Awesome. Looking good, looking good. I see Anoop. Okay, all right. I see a couple more in there. Let's do the countdown, everybody. Let's do the 3, 2, and 1. Woo! Again, thank you for everything you're doing. It's a little blurry today, but we're all being protected, I guess, by the protection agency of the internet. So very good. We really appreciate everything. We'll get this shared on the socials. Thank you for supporting this in every way, shape, and possible. Keep up the amazing work. Wouldn't be possible without all of your passion. So thank you. Gary, back to you.
Thank you very much, David. Okay, we are to our demos. So it's 3 demos today, action-packed, full of content. We're going to start with Darshan, who's going to tell us about auto language detection, dynamic multilingual responses in Copilot Studio. Darshan, take it away.
Yes, and so Darshan is having some trouble getting connected, actually. So
no.
We are going to jump straight to Anoop. If Anoop is ready, that way we can not lose any time.
So today's demo is on a web part called as the Summarizer web part. This is built using something called as Chrome's built-in AI Summarizer API that uses Gemini Nano. So before we look into the demo, I have a few slides to quickly go through the Chrome built-in AI feature. Let's understand that and then look at the demo. So imagine a scenario wherein we've got our laptop or our PC in which we have an app, a web application or a standalone application which uses artificial intelligence. So in order to work with artificial intelligence, let's stick with AI. In order to work with AI, what it does is it communicates with the server in cloud that uses AI. So the application sends the data that it needs responses to this server, which uses AI, and then that server then communicates with an LLM, which has all the knowledge, and then the server sends the response back to the app. So that's how AI applications work. So these AI-related operations can be anything from answering questions like using ChatGPT or Gemini, translation of text, data analysis, summarization of the content, proofreading, image and video analysis, and so on. Now, some of these, like the 4 that I've highlighted here, translation of the text, summarization, proofreading, and language detection. Now, these are kind of lightweight AI operations. So these can be done on the server side, i.e. the data goes up to the server, these operations get done on the server, and then the response is returned. However, with our laptops or machines with high performance, these operations can be done on the machine itself. So basically, instead of doing all these operations on the server side, why can't we do them on the client side? So that was the thought, considering cost and latency. And also, it speeds up the process for the users. So with that in mind, there's a feature that is built into Chrome, newer versions of Chrome, which is called Chrome built-in AI. So essentially, what happens is, let's say a user opens a website and requests an operation, can be translation or summarization. When that operation is requested, Chrome, with this built-in AI feature, downloads the Gemini Nano model, which is about 2 or 3 gigabytes onto the machine, and then the operation, the AI operation, which is translation, is done by this model that has been downloaded, and the result is obtained. Now, with the advantages are, if there's any sensitive data that is processed locally, so it's not being sent to the server, the user experience is faster because the AI operations get done locally. And then, greater access to the AI, so client side first, and then, if needed, if the client is not able to make those operations, then we can send it to the server. And then, of course, there is offline access as well. Now, this is not a replacement for server-side AI. This is like some of the operations, instead of doing on the server side, can be done on the client side. And there is a link to the Chrome built-in AI, which has all the details on when it should be used and how. That will be posted in the chat later. Right. With that, let's look at a demo of this web part. So if I go to this particular page, so here we've got a SharePoint page with some content, and let's say if we want to get a quick summary of that, then we've got this button. I click on that. Now, essentially, it uses AI to do the summary and then give us back the results. Now, the results here were very quick because, of course, the summary is cached. So I have generated the summary before and then stored it into a list. But if I click on regenerate summary, then what happens is it uses Chrome built-in AI to do the summary. Now, the machine that I'm using today is not that powerful. Unfortunately, the other machine of mine is under maintenance. So that's why what I've done is I've taken a couple of GIF recordings from the demo that I ran earlier. So over here, when we click on summarize article, as you see, what happens is the first thing it does is it downloads that model. If it does not exist, this is only a one-time operation, and then uses the browser API to summarize the article and then provides the summary. So once we get the summary, what we are doing in the web part is we are just storing that summary in a list so that whenever someone who wants to see the summary, it just is obtained from the list. Now, as you can see, only the first time the model gets downloaded. However, this GIF shows that if we click on regenerate summary, then because the model is already generated, already downloaded, the operation just regenerates the summary. Right. Now, another feature is this summary can be is multilingual. So here you can see I have logged in as a user whose language is set to Italian, and the summary that is generated is in Italian. So if Fabio is on the call, he can validate whether the summary is correct. Right. Now going back to the presentation. So these built-in APIs, these AI APIs, there are quite a few of them. So translator, summarizer, writer, rewriter, prompt API, and proofreader as well. So the links to these will be provided later. So essentially what happens is if we have a particular version of Chrome, I think probably 146 and above, then these APIs will be available in the browser. So by that, what I mean is if we go to the browser console and then type in, say, summarizer or language detector, you should see them come up. Now, as far as I know, currently it is available only in Chrome, but in the future, Chromium-based browsers might get it as well. There is some proposal on making this standardized so that it should be available for other browsers as well. But essentially, if we have a particular version of Chrome, 146 and above, I think, then these APIs will be available and we can access them through the browser console, which means we can use them in our code as well. Right. So this demo is about Summarizer API. So let's concentrate only on that. Again, this is a screenshot from the Chrome built-in AI API article. So what happens here is, in order to use the Summarizer, we first set some options. So this is an object in which we define what the article is about, what type of summary do we want, what's the format do we want in, and what's the length. And then the first thing is we check whether the summarizer is available within the browser. If it is, then we go ahead and create that summarizer. So essentially, here are a few more details on the type and the length that we can specify. So type is set to key points over here, but we've got some more options like TLDR, teaser, and headline, and then the length can be changed as well. Once we create the summarizer, the next step is use that summarizer in order to summarize the text. So the method is summarizer.summarize, and then we pass in whatever text we want. So in this case, in the demo that we saw earlier, it was the content of the page that we pass to this summarizer.summarize method, and then we can give it some more context as well, so that we get an accurate summary. So the idea here is, as the editors of the page, they go ahead and create the summary of the page, and as the reader of the page, they just consume the summary. Right. Now let's look into the code for this web part. This is all present in the PNP SPFx web parts repository. So I won't go through all the elements of the code. I'll just show the important elements. So in this web part, we've got a hook called as use summarizer, a React hook. And in that, like we saw earlier, the first thing we do is we check whether the summarizer is available. If it is not available, then we just throw an error. Whereas if it is available, then what we do is we define the summarizer options. So in this case, the type, format, and the length, these get passed from the web part properties. And there are some default values as well. And you can see that there are some options related to summarizer languages as well. So the web part detects the language of the current of the logged in user, and then sets the summarizer options. So once the options are set, what we do is we go ahead and download the model if it is not already downloaded. This is a one-time operation. Takes the time it takes depends on the network speed, but it's usually really fast. And then once that is downloaded, we go ahead and create the summarizer like we saw earlier. We create the summarizer with all the options that we specified. And the next step is we go ahead and use Microsoft Graph API to get the content of the page. We'll look at that function in a minute. Once we have the page content, we then simply pass it to summarizer.summarize function. In this case, we are using streaming. That's why there's a function called summarizer.summarize streaming. But if the streaming is disabled, then we can just use the summarizer.summarize function. That then returns the summary in say bullet points or TLDR or whatever is the option that we have specified. and we simply go ahead and display that summary. We'll look at displaying that summary soon, but before that, let's take a look at this. Getting the page content using Graph API. Now, Microsoft Graph has got the SharePoint Pages API. That's the one we are using here. We get the page ID and the site ID. That is then passed to the Graph API. Now, I could have created another React hook for Microsoft Graph, which is, I think, the one of the good ways of separating the code, because all the graph-related operations can be separated out. But here we are using only one graph operation. That's why I put it in the same hook. But essentially, what this does is uses the Pages API to look at the text web parts within that page and gets the inner HTML of those text web parts, and then that is the content of the page essentially, which is then passed to the Summarizer API. And then to display the summary, we've got this React component called a summarize page content. It has got a render summary method, and all that does is gets the summary from the hook that we saw earlier, and then does some formatting and uses simple divs in order to display that summary. And that's how it looks. Right, here are a couple of links that were used as part of this demo. The first one is the information on Chrome built-in AI APIs, and the other one is the link to the web part. That's it from my side. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Anoop. That's very cool. I do like the idea. Using the local models, simple access that way, using it for summarization is a great idea. Great demo. Fantastic. Right, okay, let's move on because we have a packed day today. Darshan is with us. He's got over his technical issues. So Darshan, would you like to take it away?
So today we'll be seeing on a topic that is how we can use dynamic detection of users' language in the Copilot Studio, and based on the detected languages, show the responses. So with that said, let me introduce you myself. My name is Darshan Magdum and I am a senior software engineer at Nihilent, India. So I had worked on different skill sets from the Copilot Studio, Power Automate. I've also been familiar with the web technologies, and I had been guiding the students, especially the engineering students, regarding the technical topics on generative AIs and some of the automation tools. Apart from that, I'm familiar with the graphic designing and user experience. So let me tell you exactly what we are focusing on. So in a Copilot Studio, it always comes to a scenario where users are expecting the multiple, the dynamic languages. And in that case, we implement the multilingual agents. So Copilot Studio gives us options to, set the different languages by going to the settings, selecting the specific language, and, defining the localization file. And based on that localization file, we can dynamically show the messages based on the user's language selections. So it applies throughout the different channels, no matter it's an web application, it's an Teams application. So based on the system languages, the Copilot handles those responses. But consider if you're building an agent with 10 different languages, it's difficult for developers and end users, to manage the different languages, its individual localization file. And the concept of the localization file comes with all the agent responses, questions, their notes, the separate, the suggestion messages. So manually changing each and every line of the localization file in the 10 different languages is time consuming, and also it can sometimes, miss some of the specific messages. So in that case, we can use the solution what I'm going to provide, that is dynamically detecting the user input, and based on that selection of detection of languages, we can show the responses as per the detection languages. So the solution what lies here, that is we can use the AI prompt of the Copilot, in which we can pass the user's input to those AI instructions. We can use an LLM with one of the GPT models, and based on that, we can define the instructions to detect the different languages and generate the responses in defined languages. So in this way, the output what we're getting from this AI model is in a two forms. One is the text message. Second is in a JSON form. Since the developers are more familiar with the JSON, it's always good to keep an JSON as an output. And once we get an JSON as an output, we can play with that JSON and simply show that message or generated JSON to the message node. So this way, we can build the solution to dynamically detect users language and show the respective languages, output in same languages what the user is providing. So without taking a lot of time, I would like to show you directly a Copilot Studio window. Yes. So in the Copilot Studio, I had defined multiple topics, based on any use case. So if you consider an example of the flight of the booking of flight agent, based on that, I had defined two topics, that is a book a flight and a view a flight. So we defined the phrases, and the phrases for the different languages we add in directly in the localization file. So instead of that, what I had done, I had added those phrases inside a single, English agent, and I had created one separate topic, that is the language topic. So inside that topic, what I'm doing, I'm passing two input variables, that is the user's input, what user is providing, and the messages what I need to show to the end users on the, as a conversation experience. So in that case, what I'm doing, I'm passing the user's input and these user messages to this common topic, that is the language topic. So this is a reusable topic, and once I get input to this topic, I passed two different users variables to this AI prompt, and I tell I had set the instructions to detect the English line Spanish language as of now, and based on this detection, it gives a boolean flag and the converted messages. So in this way, the user's message and the user's input are being passed here as an input variables. So I'll show you one example here, like how this is how this is actually generating the response. So consider an user input is view flight, and message which we are going to show is something like how can I assist you, or regarding some different topic use cases. So in that case, since this is an English input, and this English, both messages will be converted. So based on English input, the output will be also shown in the English. But what if I pass the Spanish input? So in that case, the messages which need to be converted will be shown in the Spanish language. So this way we can define for the multiple languages, and it saves a lot of time of depending on the localization file and manually changing those files. So once I get this output in the JSON form, I defined one output variable, that is the bot output, so that it can be consumed in one of the parent topic from which the input is incoming to this topic, and then I'm sending the response from this AI to this appending to the set variable of bot output. So in the another use case, that is, say for example, if the topic is view flight, I'm doing the same thing, passing an user's input as an system variable, that is system.active.text as an user input, and the messages what need to be converted. So this way it takes two different input variables, gives an output variable, that is bot output, and I simply show that bot output message in the message node. So I'll show you one example. Let's say if user says view flight, then since it is in the English language, bot will take that as an input, try to understand which language it is, and since I had passed as a message that is this is a view flight topic, so based on language detection it will show you response in that detected language. But what if I pass in the Spanish language? Let's say if user use an input in the Spanish, then in that case it will detect the Spanish as an input, and it will convert this message which we want to show to the end users into the Spanish language. So this way we can use the reusable topic of language detection, pass inputs and output variables, go beyond what is the capability of the Copilot, and use the different AI instructions and define the use case. This will save time, manual efforts, and complexity of defining the 10 different languages, maintaining each and every localization files, and depending on this inbuilt feature of this language, because sometimes this doesn't get updates at runtime, and it unnecessarily increase the complexity. So we can use the another approach of Copilot, that is using these AI instructions, that is more feasible, developer friendly, and easy to be maintained. Yeah. So that's from my side. Thanks, David. Thanks, Microsoft community, for giving me a chance to contribute on this topic. Have a good day.
Thank you, Darshan. Great demo. Thank you for coming on and showing what you've done. It's great. I'm sure a lot of people will get benefit of that. Okay, let's move on. We have our next demo. Don't know who this guy is. Some guy called Chris Kent. I've never heard of him before.
The worst.
The worst. Chris, take it away.
Share screen. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Chris. Wowee! All right, we're going to talk about some exciting stuff today. All right. It is SPFx, of course, so we're going to jump over to our Mockingbird site. All right, so we got our Mockingbirds, and as you know, the Mockingbirds are quite mean. They love to mock and do mean things, but they're also lovely developers. And when they're developing, right, they use React, usually with their SPFx parts, and then of course, just to make things easier, they're using the Fluent UI control set for that, right? And that's great, but they are extremely angry as they put together a quick web part, which we're going to take a look at here. So let's head over to our mock bench. And there we go. I've already got it added to the workbench here. And you can see, so I built this little exciting demo where you can pick one of the few icons I filled out, right? And it'll replace that. It'll show it being used in a ton of different Fluent UI controls. There are a few more that use the icons, right? But these are just the controls laid out using that same icon. But what you'll notice here is that I've got a cat, I've got a dog, right? But I don't have a bird. What the heck? And if I head over to something like flycon.io, where I can search for icons, right? And I search for bird, the only one is this old Twitter logo. No thanks, right? Even the Mockingbirds have their standards, right? So they don't want to use this guy, but they want to use a bird icon, right? Inside their SPFx controls. But they don't want to just have to, manually set these every time, create their own buttons, all this stuff. They want to be able to use their own icon directly in here. Well, good news, they can. How exciting. So let's take a look at this code first, and then I'll show you how we can add our own custom icons in a couple of different ways. So let's head over to the code. Ooh, fancy code. All right. So the first thing is we'll just look at that actual web part, right? This is a React web part. We're not going to look through the code in real depth here. All right, so you can see this is where I've pulled out those icons, right, that I got from Flycon, and I just listed them here, and then blah, 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 create a dropdown. And then here is just each one of those sections, right? There's a default button with the icon, there's the selected icon, so you can see. And all this is a sample you can look at later. But the idea is you pick an icon, and then I reference it by name in all of these various controls. Wow, that's exciting. Okay, now I think everybody's got the basic idea here, right? So again, we pick an icon, and then it shows up, and it works all across these things, right? So these are all the official icons. There is no bird icon. We are sad. Let's go add a bird icon. So I happen to have found, through my amazing Google skills, when I typed in free bird SVG, right, I found this one. Surprisingly, not a Leonard Skinner song. Right, but here it is, our free bird SVG. It's wonderful, and if we take a look at the actual text of that, right, here it is. Wow, very exciting. It's just a single path. This one happens to be pretty simple, but you could go with a more elaborate one. You could do one with custom colors. You can do all sorts of cool stuff here. But let's take a look at how we can take this SVG file and make it show up the way we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little file in our utils, right? So we're going to create a new file. And we're going to call this custom icons.tsx. It's a TSX file because we are going to work with JSX elements directly, which I will show you. All right, so we're going to create a little thing called register custom icons. You know what? Let's make this a little bigger. There we go. So you can actually read this, right? So then we're going to say, yeah, that looks great. Void, perfect. Ignore that. Right, I'm going to register icons. So this is something that Fluent UI provides, right? This is a register icons function. Ooh, fancy. Right, so now let's register an icon. So the way this works is you can just specify icons. And now icons, you specify them with the name of the icon. So in this case, we're going to call it the mockingbird, right? And then you could pass in either a string or a JS element, right? There you go. So that's what we're going to do. But in order to do that, right, we have to have it to be able to recognize those. So let's go ahead and import React, right? So that when we paste an SVG here, it works. So now we can literally take our SVG from over here, copy this guy, whop, and then come back. Ooh, not that one, not that one, this one. And we're going to paste it in here, you know, like this. I'm going to go to JSX element, boom. All right, let's make that look a little better. Golly. All right, good enough, right? That is so beautiful. Okay, so now we've got this. Very exciting. It's got a view box. It has some fixed sizes and heights, so we might need to clean this up just a little bit. And so that's what we're going to do. So this will replace, and now we should have let's go ahead and close this thing out. So we close this out. There we go, and we'll come back to this. Let's head over to our web part. That's this one, right, where we up top. What did I do? I'm losing my place here. Aha! Here we are, right? So we've got this. So I have this little custom section here. Well, I will add my own icons there by name, right? Oh, Mockingbird. It's almost like I had done this demo before. Perfect. Okay, so let's save all of that. Now we're not actually calling this yet, so let's call it. All right, and we're going to call that because we just want to register this at the top of our web part. We're going to say here in our on a knit event, right? We're just going to say register custom icons. There we go. Let's call that. And so what that's going to do is any icons I want to add, right? It's going to call our little thing there, and it's going to add those as an SVG. And if we take a look, what did it do? Should we have a mockingbird? We do. Oh gosh, that's no good, right? So let's go fix that. But you can see it's starting to show up. It's starting to show up everywhere, right? Not what we want. So let's show how we fix that. All right. You might have guessed that keeping the hard-coded height and width was a problem. So let's fix that. So what we want to do is these are going to be treated almost as if they are fonts, right? We want them to work like they're fonts. So what we can do is we can say this is 1 EM, right? So let's say match the font size, basically 1 EM. And when we save that and we go back, ooh, let's go back and pick our mockingbird. Oh, look at that. Now we've got a mockingbird and it's starting to show up. That's cool. But there's a couple other things that are a little weird here, right? For instance, we'll notice that if we pick, you know, say the balloons, you'll see that it's automatically doing some colors, right? The primary button switches over, but mockingbird is not. Oh, so let's fix that as well. Again, we're going to try and treat this as text. So by default, if you've not specified, you know, any colors in here, it's just going to use black. So we're just going to specify, because we want this to be theme aware, current color. What that'll do is take whatever the current text color is and use it. So if we save that guy, we can come back here and let's pick our mockingbird once again. Ooh, fancy. That's really cool. Now, there's 2 other properties that you should add each time for accessibility. So let's go ahead and add those. That would be ARIA hidden, right? And we're going to set that to true. And then we're going to set the focusable to false, right? That just keeps it from being interactable and causing problems with screen readers. And that is how all of the other icons work. So that's just us playing nice, right? So now we have ourselves a custom icon. Woohoo! That's exciting. But let's go a little further. So, what are we doing here with this? Get out of here, team. We don't need that junk there. Okay, so let's go a little further, right? So, you know, what if I've got my own font icons, right? I've got my own font, or I'm using a third-party font, like I've got Material, or I've got Font Awesome. You know, I want to be able to use those alongside all of the Fluent icons. Well, you could do that, right? So you could, let's take Font Awesome because it's free. Right, so if I go back here and I go to Font Awesome, right, there's all these free icon packs, right? So here's 1,422 free icons. Cool, I want to use those. Right, so if I were to pick one, like in this case, I can't choose it because of the Teams thing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Aha! So what I was pointing out here is, I'm just looking at an individual icon of Font Awesome, right? I could do the same thing I did. I could go to the SVG and I could copy this thing out. But you just saw there's, 1,400 plus icons. And if I've got the free one, it's like 67. Or not, if I got the Pro, I might have up to like 67,000 icons. And this sounds no fun. I don't want to do that, right? Plus, Font Awesome provides very nice, you can either do a font kit yourself, or you can reference their fonts through CDN and so on. And so let's take a look at that. Luckily, Fluent lets us do it that way too. So let's head on back here. So we've got to register custom icons, but what if we were to do Font Awesome icons? Ooh. So let's do it. Okay, let's try that one more time. New file. Font Awesome icons. We'll just make this a TS file because we're not going to work with any JSX elements directly. We could, but we're not going to. All right, so let's just do this as well. So export, icons, register, Font Awesome icons, perfect. And then we're going to say register icons just like we did before. All right, there it is. But this time, instead of just specifying the icons as JSX elements like we did, we're going to specify a font face up front. So we could say a font face. This is where we're saying like, hey, use a font, right? And there you go. It's got some autocomplete. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this part in so that I don't have to do it right in front of you. Although that is fun. Oops, it's commented. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's take a look at what we did here. I copied font face twice. How exciting. Woo! Writing code hard. All right, we'll leave that there. It's upset we haven't put in icons yet, so let's put in the icons. There we go. Okay. So now what we have here is our registrar. Let's close out this function. There we go. Quit your whining. Perfect. So what I've done is I've placed a URL, like a source, right, for the CDN location of the Font Awesome icon, font. That's cool. Just specified a few things. All of this is just information that is available on the Font Awesome website. But while I'm doing that, now I can specify icons here, right? So I can actually say things like my FA magnify. This is what I'm gonna call it. So I'm putting the FA myself, right? Now, where did I get this UF688? Well, that was that Unicode value up here, right? There it is. There's the copy of the Unicode button. That's pretty cool. So now if I come back here, all right, now I'm registering a Font Awesome icon. Let's save that. Let's head over here and let's make sure we actually call it register Font Awesome icons. Woo woo. There we go. And then we come back here, and of course, let's make sure they show up. I'm just going to uncomment several of these. There we go. Save that, and let's check out our web part. How are we doing on the web part? Well, did you refresh? You did. Okay. So now you'll start to see a few weird things, right? So now we got Font Awesome listed, but you can see none of them are working, right? This one's probably not working because I called it the wrong name. So let's go fix that. Did I? Let's see. Or did I not actually call it? I don't know. Either way, let's just grab the working one instead of relying on my amazing typing skills. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and register this as well. Let's just update the import. So this is the other thing here. So you'll notice that there are a lot of these icons have different names, right, for legacy reasons. Like a classic one is house is also home. In fact, it's got a couple different ones, right? So you can actually specify an alias, right? So you're like, hey, if I call it FA search $, just use this one, right? So that's pretty nice. This is something, again, provided by Fluent. So if we save everything, I think that was our problem. We didn't save, maybe. Saving hard. Okay. So now we should have, there we go. So now I've registered those, right? Look at that. So by doing that, it fully works as expected. That's pretty cool, right? So now I've got Font Awesome icons, and now I just have, 1,421 more to do. Right? And, this is a completely fine approach if you're doing, very specific ones, right? You're just adding a few, right? This is very easy. Do it this way. That's great. What I'm going to show you now, in the last little bit of time here, is a way to do this a little more automatic. And so ahead of time, I've gone ahead and gone into my package and I've added a dev dependency. So it's a dev dependency. It will not get bundled into my project. There's a number of ways to do this. I could do this with a regular dependency if I wanted to take the font awesome packages and load them directly that way and not rely on a CDN. That's all totally cool. It all works with this approach as well. But in this case, I'm just going to pull in font awesome, the package so that I can reference it in a local script, which I've got a local script already added to my scripts here called update FA icons, right? And if we take a look at that, what that's doing is it's going to the node modules to a file, and it's reading through all of that, and it's going to output everything to a JSON file inside the project, right? So what the file is going to get is this crazy thing, right? That's got, just going to magnifying glass dollar, it's 75,000 lines in, right? So this is a huge file. It's got a ton of information we don't care about, right? All we care about, right, is the name and that Unicode value, which is somewhere in here, right? The Unicode. There you go. So that's what this script does. I'm not going to go through the script. I'm just going to run the script. And then you can check out the sample later if you want to do it. So let's just run that script. There we go. We run the script. Ooh. So look at that. It found all of these different icons. And what that's going to do is it creates this nicer JSON for us that tells us what styles they belong to, the Unicode value for the individual icons, and so on. So it just kind of cleans that up for us. That's all the script does. Creates a little JSON file for us. Very nice, very fancy. So now if I come back to my font awesome registration, and let's get rid of this guy, and let's do our own version. I'm going to copy and paste. Whoop. And let's just grab this whole file. There we go. And wham! There we go. You didn't like something. Oh, because I got rid of my imports, maybe. Ooh, font import. What is that? Bonk. There we go. We'll fix it. Okay, so now what we're doing is we are pulling in that JSON file, and then we're just going through it, and we're doing the exact same thing. This is just a fancier way of dividing it up, and it's adding the prefixes automatically, right? And it's registering them, and it's even coming down here and looking through all those aliases and adding those as well. Ooh. So now when we run this thing, let's see, let's come back over here. Now you can see, we've got a bunch of icons, including our beloved Pooh Storm. Who doesn't love Pooh Storm, right? What a great icon. You're going to need that at some point for your weather app, obviously, right? Or you've got your flying spaghetti monster. Now, that's one of the things that points out, like some of these, you can see, unlike the Fluent UI, do have slightly different widths, so you're going to have to account for some of these or, do something with that. But that allows you to take advantage of all sorts of things. So you can extend the same pattern, right, to a custom icon font that you've got, to material icons, right, any number of things out there. You can go grab some free SVGs. You can grab, your company logo, whatever it is, right? And then by doing that, you get to use them in all the controls. Wow! All right, let's get out of here. All right. Just to summarize, so you can look at this, right? So use that register icons function from Fluent, right? And you can specify the name of a JSX element, right? Those are the settings you need to add. Make sure you do that. And then, of course, you can also do the icon fonts, where you specify the font face, and you give it the name and the glyph, the Unicode value. If you wanted to grab the Font Awesome React library, you can do it that way too. But again, the whole idea is to get it to work inside the Fluent UI without you having to do anything beyond just this initial setup. And that's it. That's all I got for you. Wow.
Awesome, Chris. As always, thank you very much for that. That was very entertaining. You have made my day. So I want to say thanks to Darshan, Anoop, and obviously Chris for coming on today and demoing their awesome solutions. Very cool. If you have some feedback about the calls, please do let us know what is good, what is bad, what you'd like to see. Go to aka.ms/community/calls/feedback and please let us know. If you are not a member of our official Discord server and you are on Discord, you can join using this QR code on your screen or aka.ms/community/Discord. Ever increasing number of members, we're up to 3,000, which is incredible. So if Discord is your thing, make sure that you add the server. And thank you for everyone for joining us today. Like always, the recording of this call will be available in 24 hours, which will be put on the YouTube channel, aka.ms/community/YouTube. Please follow us on all socials. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, so you'll get the notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Our next call, the weekly call, is next Tuesday, March the 26th. And the the next call is actually March the 24th. The next following community call is the 26th as well. But don't take my word for it. Go to the aka.ms/community/calls, get that invite, download that into your calendar, and make sure you have the latest up-to-date times as well, so that you don't get caught out with the time zone changes coming up. And with that, thank you very much. Me and Parker saying bye-bye.